Hello and welcome to Ideas with Impact podcast. Today's guest is Hamad Shirazi, a doctor of chiropractic whose work blends fitness, education, and holistic health to help people better understand their body, not just as something to fix, but something to listen to. Hello, Hamad. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alexandra. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I am actually really looking forward to this conversation because I feel like this is one of these topics where people think they understand their body and what's going on, but when you really start to listen, it really opens up a completely different level of awareness.
Yeah, I agree. It's something I'm very passionate about. And being a student, a patient, and also on the other side of being a teacher and a provider, I've been able to experience a whole spectrum and myriad of like misconceptions, misunderstandings, and overall, I think we're in a climate now where it's outside in. People are no longer in tune and understanding the messages and the signals of their own body.
We're having a conversation right now, but let's say if I sat down with you 10, 15 years ago, what we would see in you that's so different from who you are today.
Well, interesting that you choose those numbers. 15 years ago is when I finalized my personal training certification in 2011. And since that time, I have been on this journey as a practitioner, and it's been so much growth. It was like a boy who's figuring it out and trying to learn and to understand and to help. But wow, the way I approach health, the way I approach fitness, the way I approach spirituality and everything has grown tremendously. And there's maturity, and there's still, that's the way life goes. So there's still so much for me to learn and grow and mature. If someone asked me that 15 years from now, I'll probably look back now and say probably something very similar. And that's if I'm doing life right, because we should be in constant pursuit of growth.
Yes, it's a everyday evolution,
Yeah.
self development, self growth, and fulfillment of whatever it is in the way that if you're not on this path, you know, where are you? Kind of like stuck in the 1980s and 1990s. Yeah, I think that there is a massive shift happening right now in the world. The conversations I've had, with the past guest on my show, it really makes you look and be like, wow, like even people around me, they're really looking for something else. So it's really amazing to see. It's really nice to be alive in this time. Yeah.
I agree. There's life is all about perspective because we can look at all the elements there's a lot of events and happenings right now that are, not so great. But then you can also shift the perspective and look at all the positivity, the growth, and the unification of people as well. So life always provides a spectrum, and it is an inside job for us to choose what to look at. Within that, we don't have to discount or like bypass everything that's happening, right? So there's this consciousness of just total awareness.
So going back to the question about you and your studies, what really pulled you into the world of health, fitness, and now you're practicing chiropractic?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I'm grateful for each piece. From a young age, I gravitated towards athletics. I liked anything that involved hand-eye coordination or competition or some sort of tactical skill set. I fell in love with basketball. And that is like, let's say from about 7, 8 years old, that is where, as a child, utilize a lot of your imagination and your creativity. That is what went on in my mind most of the day. And then when I'd play at a hoop out in front of our house. I would watch basketball. I'd be shooting hoops inside the house. And, it was just this a young boy's like obsession. And I think that was the inspiration to be very embodied. And I think innately I had that. I was very active. Even I've been told stories about myself when I was a baby, just in how I was. I think that there's a natural inclination towards being very embodied. And there's so much, but to kind of summarize is I had also a lot of challenges within my body from a young age that I did not understand. And I feel like I did not receive the support, not the emotional support, nor the physical support or the awareness. And I see now looking back that it's been a journey of, okay, like I'm not really being supported. I got to figure this out. And it's not like a victim. I've definitely played the victim role along the journey. I had chronic health pain. I had a surgery procedure when I was like 20 years old. With now what I do, I've become the provider, the man that I needed as a boy going through those stages to be a truly holistic provider who listens, who empathizes, who goes to conservative measures first. So now I've become an extremely conservative practitioner where I begin with the breath. And so along the way, it's just been, I think through a lot of challenge and adversity is what constantly kept that fire inside of me alive. Where, yeah, so it grew across the spectrum of, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, environmentally, of just this passion and desire to seek the truth, to become whole, to be as strong and athletic as possible.
You mentioned breath. A lot of people think that they're breathing right, but they're actually not. So, in your terms of when you're starting with the breath, what is the simplest way that you tell people how to breathe properly?
Beginning, just awareness. And I've been doing this for so long that I'm constantly, evolving, and I show up differently because I'm very much someone who honors each individual and where they're at, where their level of understanding and consciousness is. So a lot of times I ask after I have someone like stand and breathe and settle in, I ask them what their level of awareness of the breath is.
Mm.
Just because, some people, they'll go to yoga and they'll hear about belly breathing or this and that. A lot of times I assess someone and they're breathing like this and then they say they're breathing from their belly. So I get, because they may think it's a test. So like, but it's more so like, how do we breathe naturally? So with that being said, what I have tuned into is, when we inhale, there should be an inspiration. Our lungs should inflate, the diaphragm drops down. And that's like from an anatomical perspective. Chest breathing, I never say anything is like raw. I don't really use the terms right or wrong. It's just chest breathing like this. It's not optimal because we're just constantly activating our secondary respiratory muscles. And if we're not sending the breath down into our root and expanding the rib cage, even laterally and posteriorly, we're not going to be able to get a full breath. And so if we have shallow breathing, increased respiratory rate, that takes us to more sympathetic, which is fight or flight, more cortisol. We're breathing here, which also this, I look stressed out versus, body language is a thing. Most people, we have a lot of tone and tension in our head, neck, and shoulders. So for me, it's very clear. I'm able to see someone holistically and objectively. But a lot of us, if we don't have the awareness, we haven't been coached, we're not educated on it, it's a repeated cycle. So for me, it's like I can provide the best adjustment. You can eat the best foods. You can have great relationships. But if you're not conscious and present with the breath, you're not going to be able to experience life optimally.
Mm.
I know that was a little bit of a journey, but hopefully I was just trying to make it even, maybe tactical and more practical for even our listeners to maybe be able to tune in with their breath as well.
When I start learning about breath, they used to tell me about the square breath. So four, take four, hold for four, release for four, hold for
Yeah.
both, and so on the go. So it was quite interesting because I was one of those people who was not breathing right. Everything was super shallow, super coming in from my lungs here, from the chest area. And once I learned how to actually manage my own stress in a certain way because the breath has really lower my anxiety or something was going in my body, it really calmed me down, which was actually so beautiful. So now I'm to the first thing that I do focus on is the breath right away if something's going on. So it's really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
If I could expand on that as well, like you're mentioning the circular or the box breathing. Sometimes people jump to breath work, but that's why I start in breath awareness. I don't even tell people like what's right or wrong. Usually on the first visit, I ask them to just become more self-aware. Just don't take my word for it. It's just more helping them to be in tune with the breath. But we can also utilize the breath if we want to. Inhalations, we extend, it's more excitatory if we want to bring up energy. But if we're looking to calm down, saying if we're anxious, then we would want to slow down the breath. And also we can extend our exhalations. And there's so many different ways, right? Because I think a lot of times people just want the perfect way and just this black and white. But that's not life. In life, we're gonna have to be avid participators, which means like we breathe a certain way to get a certain response, and then being able to be self-aware to know the kind of breath that we need in that moment.
I like that. I like that. Self-awareness is definitely important because if not, then you just doing the same thing over and over again. What is one belief you used to have about health that you have through the years unlearned?
That's a great question. I would say one of my nicknames, even in high school, was Mr. Perfect. I have had that perfectionist tendencies. And I remember a time in Miami, I was literally doing like from a health standard and a discipline standard, everything so perfectly. Like sometimes I can go on the extreme of discipline. And I realized that I actually wasn't my healthiest self. For me now, the path I've been on in the past 6+ years is really into consciousness and the quantum and understanding on a deeper level the integration of our spiritual and emotional and mental well being with our physical presentation. So the belief that I've unlearned is that you need to live this perfectly clean lifestyle. I've actually noticed that when I'm in a flow state, I have more congruence within my system and I'm actually not living perfectly. I'm honoring my inner child. I like foods, I like sweets, I like junk food, I like all the things of life. And truthfully, when I am in a higher emotional and state of gratitude and consciousness, all these little things, they don't matter as much. Because when we hold on to these beliefs, most of our belief systems are what's making us sick. So for me, I have beliefs and conviction, but I have this separation between myself and the beliefs where, you know, I keep an openness that I could change my mind. And I think that that's something that for most of us is not to be so attached to our beliefs because that can create stress and inflammation in the body as well. And it's all about finding, like you said, self-awareness and our own state of balance to where we're congruent, we're in our path, so everything's fine. And health is truly a holistic practice.
It's like the dance.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, without the yin and yang, you don't. It's like you said earlier, there's no perfect.
Yeah. Well,
We
it's
always
imperfectly perfect.
right, right. It's like we have to go through certain parts in our life to get to the point where we are today. It's all about learning. But if
Mhm.
someone is holding on to that tension, again, would breath would be one of those things to kind of let it sink in and be aware of it. Like, what would be the first thing for them to understand that they're actually holding on to either a emotion, the pain, or whatever it is?
Well, we started with the breath. That's the first and foremost. I love what I do, and I love that even with a chiropractic, I do utilize my hands and touch, and w- I do have like a sensory application with my hands, where my hands find people's tension. And it's like this honing missile device that just goes around and like it can find something. So when someone, if they're not self-aware yet, by utilizing touch and helping them, I can show them range of motion. like where it's beneficial and where it's detrimental. I can find trigger points, I can find misalignments. Subluxations is a chiropractic term for misalignments. It goes much deeper than that. But then that feedback could totally be like, wow, like why does that hurt so much? So that creates that inquisitive sensation, or I have them do a deep squat, or I have them walk, and then basically it's being a mirror. So
Mm.
I let them see and experience for themselves as opposed to just me telling them.
So they need to kind of figure this out and kind of feel what's going on.
Well, there's so many different ways. I think to answer that question is one of the ways that I have like an instant path because I'm utilizing the body as well. I'm very much an embodiment practitioner. Unless I'm doing something Zoom or FaceTime, most of my practice is embodying the soul. And basically, that's what I have developed a skill set to be able to have these practices. So I utilize a lot of breath, movement, chiropractic, mobility, range of motion, and I've never met a human that doesn't have plenty of things to work on. So, and I'm much more of a solution-based practitioner. So it's like we can find areas that we're out of balance. I have areas out of balance all the time too. But then we become more proactive and solution oriented as opposed to diagnoses. And like sometimes in our system now, people are obsessed with figuring out what's wrong
Mm.
rather than investing energy in living a healthy lifestyle that will naturally eliminate
Mm.
the dis-ease that we're
Yes.
experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one. And sometimes it's hard because I think we've been so programmed for such a long time to do certain things certain ways, just go through life. This is how we were taught in school in certain ways. So it's like our parents, right? And it's really hard to pivot through that. So do you think the body constantly is trying to communicate with us?
I don't believe it's trying, I believe it is. I believe the body is constantly communicating with us and it's just, are we able to listen and to hear? Sometimes in my fitness class now, I always try to come up with these analogies or ways to get people into a different, state of thinking and honestly bring out that inner child. Because sometimes we need to just like relieve the pressure cooker and just kind of laugh at ourselves and just lighten up. So I say like turn the volume down. So I'll be like starting a fitness class and I'll be tuning into the breath. I'm like, let's turn the volume down with the thoughts and like the day, what we're doing after, and let's turn the volume up with the sensation of breath. And literally that's what it is. When we turn all the noise down and sit with ourselves, a lot of things come to our awareness that
Mm.
are there. It's just we're not listening because everything else is holding all of our attention.
I remember when I went to Nicaragua for a retreat. I was actually doing a workshop, but I was participating in some of the movements. And there was this girl that came and she was doing just kind of like again, it was body awareness, but it was also letting go. So we were doing this somatic dance. And I kid you not, there was probably about five of us, five women. And the first day when we were presented to do this, everybody was super robotic, super stiff. They were looking at each other around. They were like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I should do this." By Wednesday or halfway through, we were going crazy. Literally, like you said earlier, is like literally going in and, feel that, being that child again and let go of that, whatever was holding you, and just let go and laugh about it and cry about it if you really want to. And it was such a amazing feeling. That's all I will say. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense because sometimes we have so many layers of armor, and myself included, because I have this spectrum within me. Like I can be an off the wall like hippie, but I also have this professional and like very structured and disciplined nature as well. And when we have that awareness, but sometimes we just have to, and maybe that's why a lot of people are gravitating towards, being in nature and going on these trips or retreats or ceremonies to where there's just so much, and peeling off some of those layers. And life is really a big part of remembering
Yes.
who we are at our core, you
Yes.
know? Yeah.
It changes you forever, I find that it really, it's like opening, throughout the years, you have this Pandora box, or some people call it the closet, some people call it the carpet, and you're just shoving things in there, right? And it's so nice to slowly open that up and just bring one thing at a time if you really want to. So I love that kind of concept of be like, don't be afraid of it. Look at it. Like you said, peel those layer of onions,
Yep.
go to the core of it, find out, again, who are you? What are you doing? What's your purpose? What is one of the biggest misconception people have about going through this process of healing and they just don't understand it or they're holding back?
Yeah. And what's interesting too about all these interviews is I like to be very intuitive and instinctual because there's so many light bulbs that go off, but I'm choosing like the first thing that speaks to me because there's so many different ways to go about answering some of these questions. But I would say is nowadays, I think people are a little bit too attached to feeling. So it's like, I need to
Okay.
feel good, and feeling good is my path to healing. There is some truth to that, but I think that we need to take a step back and understand like where we are and where we want to go. Most likely, that growth is going to require some discomfort. It's not going to be a straight shot. It's going to be filled with twists, turns, slips, falls, and challenges along the way. And this instant gratification. So it's like, okay, when someone is truly ready to heal and embark on a journey, you got to be like clear and authentic with themselves, understand where they are and understand where they would like to be. I said to a patient, I think a week or two, he really liked it, was you have to live the lifestyle of the person you want to be. So it's like if you're 100 pounds overweight, you're never going to get to that destination living a lifestyle of someone who is 100 pounds overweight. And I think that the way to circle back and bring that answer and consolidate it is let's be less attached to like the temporary feelings and be a little bit more patient and disciplined and understand the journey's gonna be what it is. And we need to just continue to show up. And I think something that I've learned as a coach and a practitioner and now working as a doctor as well is what you were just mentioning is gradual. Sometimes I'm so passionate, I'm so eager, I have so much information I want to share and help people. But the more and more experience I have, I realize one thing at a time. Let's just, like you said, peel the onion back one layer at a time. What's the rush? Basically, we're always either getting better, getting worse. We're degenerating or regenerating. As long as we have the momentum of healing, and we'll have setbacks, that's the nature of life. As long as we're on that trajectory, all good. Let's just like, just keep showing up.
Yeah, it's I hear you because with my practice as well, as a holistic nutrition, I'm like, here, I get all this information. I
Yeah.
want you to do this well, and I want you to do this. And I'm so excited, and I go like 1,000 miles, per
Yeah.
minute. And it's like I have to remind myself that these people or my clients have never been introduced to anything like this,
Yeah.
and sometimes can backfire. So I have to step back and, like you said too, it's one thing at a time.
Mhm.
Not change the whole diet, but just like, let's say, add more salad or chew your food more,
Mhm.
to a point where it's more liquefied. Just simple little things that really they can see those changes and then they want more after that.
Yeah.
But if you overwhelm them with so much information, it's going to be overwhelming and they're going to give up. So I've learned the hard way as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's our nature too, is we got to keep learning. We're in
Yeah.
this dance too. We're not
Yeah.
just from the practitioner too. We got to stay curious and humble, and we're constantly learning as well. But I knew we were kindred spirits, but it's so funny how you stated that because I often say the same thing is, under promise, over deliver, giving little bite sizes to where they want more as opposed to like giving them too much. to where it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have to stay on course, and if they really truly are ready, then, just those little baby steps. Yeah, I had to relearn this whole system, the whole process, how I approach that. So it was quite a journey to in the last 2 years, but I finally I'm good. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
still learning,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
but
yeah. We're never
I'm
fully arrived, but
think I'm
yeah,
in a good path now. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about nervous system because our nervous system can really take a toll on us.
Hmm.
So what role does the nervous system play on how we, I guess, experience pain, stress, different kind of thoughts and how we ourselves show up for us in our own lives?
Yeah, I think nervous system, and I'm grateful for it, has become more of a topic of conversation. Our nervous system, it is one of the master regulators. I wouldn't even say we want to put necessarily a hierarchy in the human body because every physiological system has an impact and is very important to the system of being a human being. The nervous system, though, is a master regulator, so it's how we perceive. It connects the brain to the body. I got my spine model up there, so essentially, the brain connects through this pathway of nerves and innervates all the sensations that we experience in the body. And it goes much deeper and beyond as well. But that system helps facilitate all of our experiences of life, you know? And let's say if you do have like a nerve that's severed, you can become paralyzed and then you no longer have sensation. And that sensation is what can determine our mood, our emotional state, the thoughts that we have, our ability to digest food, our ability to throw a ball, run, and enjoy experiences with our family. So it literally has an impact on everything. And I think to begin the conversation is helping understand people and make sense of what the nervous system is responsible for. And even what I was mentioning before is like parasympathetic, rest and digest, and sympathetic. And I think in our modern society, and there's always exceptions. That's why I like to speak in a certain way, because there may be someone who is parasympathetic dominant and maybe they need sympathetic, but for the most part of individuals is they're stuck in this amped up, anxious, fight or flight, cortisol
Mm.
producing state. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with the sympathetic nervous system. It's just when we become out of balance. And when we
Mm.
become out of balance for long periods of time, that will be detrimental. So we should, as you mentioned even earlier in the podcast conversation, is the yin and yang. And we need to find that harmony within our own self and the nervous system so that we do go into parasympathetic rest and digest so that we are able to be fully sympathetic and fully express ourselves as well.
Do you think that a lot of people live in a survival mode without
Yeah.
even realizing that they're in that state? Yeah.
Most people, I think, don't even know what it feels like to relax. It's very interesting today having patience. I can really, like I said, also with touch, the body keeps a score, and the body is literally
Mm.
a map of the mind. So I can sense someone's tone and their ability. When someone can surrender and lay on a table and actually be at ease, I can see elements of their body, their symptoms, and how it all presents, and connect the dots. As opposed to someone who's super tense, they cannot. I can see people who cannot get into like a relaxed state. They're holding on to everything. And I think that a lot of people are just unaware that that's not, I don't really like the word normal, but it's actually not healthy to stay in that state all the time. Like we should be able to rest and chill, but then and be able to have this fluctuation.
Right. But we live in such a crazy world right now, financially, emotionally, and there's so much things going on. We're bombarded with so many things. How can one regulate that? Again, breath work, going for some sort of walk in nature, I think will be one of the best thing to regulate the nervous system.
Yeah. And
Exercise
exercise,
probably would be one of the best ones.
yeah, movement I love. So breath and movement,
Mhm.
they're the most natural. You're not even ingesting anything. It's just it helps to reset. I also am a big advocate based on the individual fasting and fasting more quiet, more darkness, more time to go inward. So
Mm,
there's working in versus working out. So it's just tuning that awareness, turn the volume on in your internal state and turn the volume off everywhere else. I think that, yes, breath work, walk in nature, there's so many different tools. But really, what most people need is like darkness, silence, quiet, no stimulation, not watching anything, not listening to anything. Just
disconnect.
let the brain go through what it needs to go through. What I find is most of us, there's nothing wrong with us. We have not given our brain time to process. It's a processing machine. So, when people discuss meditation, they're trying to control meditation too. But the idea is, okay, just think about it. If your brain has been on 23 hours, like a day, it's going to be going haywire. Like let it do its thing. And that begins with self-awareness. So for me, I still could always use more quiet time, more time in silence and solitude. But I have certain thresholds and I've developed more awareness to where it's like, and I communicated with people is like, I need to go inwards. I just need some time because I want to keep my brain, my mind, my entire being balanced and grounded. So I'm always present and I'm not carrying the past with me. I'd like
Mm.
to stay clear, but the brain needs time to like process and be at ease.
Yeah, they're not retreats, but I know they have them around here where I live. You can have the 1 day or 3 day or a
Yeah.
week of darkness where
Yeah.
you go into that room and no phones, no light, nothing. And it's quite interesting. I have never done this before, but I know how to regulate my own nervous system
Yeah.
just like you. I like to disconnect myself in the way. But if I want to try that, I'm
Yeah.
curious about it, and it would be quite interesting to sit in the room by yourself in darkness and then
Yeah.
see what comes up again.
Oh,
Yeah.
that I would try too, just for the sake of it. But I also believe this is our culture: is we go to one extreme, so we jump to the other. I mean, all we have to do is take pauses, go for walks. If we just change our lifestyle, like we can utilize retreats, but it's more about creating a lifestyle that has these. We rest better. We calm our nervous system. We do sit in silence. Like at night when it's bedtime, we're in silence and darkness when the sun goes down. I very much like to regulate myself with the sun, the moon, and our natural universe. That is, I think, you really can't outsmart nature or biohack your way out of regulating yourself with our environment.
Yeah, it's true. I have 3 kids, and what I love to do with them is make sure that the phones are away for a couple hours before bedtime. My youngest he just turned 13 and he has no phone. And sometimes he borrows, his dad phone or my phone. I try not to give him my phone because I'm like, no, you don't need it. Uh, but it's really awesome to see when he doesn't have the phone. Actually, his he tells me, like, he's like, "Oh, I'm bored." But then what happened is that he needs to find something and he becomes so creative. Like, I'll give you an example. This past long weekend, we came home from a family gathering and he's like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." And then suddenly there's silent. We're like, "Uh-oh, what's going on?" We go check on him. He's in his room. He pulled out all his Legos that he hasn't played in 5 years, and he put them all on the ground, and he has built this massive car or truck, and he was walking around with it so proud, and I'm like, "This is so amazing." I'm like, "I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you," you know?
Yeah.
So these little things are like, especially for the kids, if someone's listening as a child, I think it's just so important to have them disconnect from that, social media and so on, and really connect with truly who they are, children, who they're supposed to be playing and having fun and enjoy, go outside, I don't know, hang out with some friends or something. So It was really cool to see that in my kid.
I love hearing that. That reminds me, I grew up still in a generation where we played outside and we didn't have phones yet. So,
Yeah.
and to add to that, I think that's very valuable advice, but also we are all have children inside too. I constantly need to reparent myself. And it doesn't matter how old we get or how successful we think we are also have that tendency to live in extremes. So for me, I'm aware of all this. I take care of so many people. I provide advice, but I'm not perfect. I have to reparent myself as well and take breaks from all these things. Actually, I had, a full morning at the office. I got home and I needed a meal and I needed to chill. I left my phone on the desk because sometimes I'll just keep it with me. And I usually am listening to positive like brain food. But for me, I also realize as I know, just sit with your thoughts. So like I had a meal in quiet. I actually like closed my eyes and chewed my food and was breathing. These are things I know, but I actually did it today. And then I sat outside and just sat with the sun, no phone. And I'm aware of this, but I don't do it all the time. So sometimes, like, just take advantage of the gift of time and presence. Because there are times in life where we just got so much going on. But I definitely took
Hmm.
advantage of that today. And I knew that we were gonna get on a call too. So I was like, I need some time to chill out, gather and ground myself before my next activity. And sometimes those
Yeah.
little pauses can do wonders for the way that we show up.
I love the way you said it. It's really again regulating yourself in a way, right? Because we live in such a distraction. There's always things happening. You're always on the go. You always have to meet someone. You got to pick up the phone. There's always things. It's crazy. And I always said that too as a holistic nutritionist, like stop what you're doing. You have to sit down when you eat because your digestion really starts before you start putting your food in your mouth. So slowing down is the best remedy that I usually tell people to just slow it down. Going back to fitness, how do you distinguish between being fit and actually being healthy? What does this mean?
Well, for me, you have to be healthy to be fit. Fit, I remember it was a couple years ago, and I think it was during the whole like COVID era. I posted something about fitness, and it's actually about like a species being very like fertile and being able to reproduce and doing its natural proclivity of what a human being does. Fit nowadays is kind of like very superficial, or it can be, not for everyone, but it's
Mhm.
like looking fit as opposed to being healthy and fit, right? So it's like, let's say you look very strong, very muscular, or whatever society, or, men and women have different beauty standards and fitness standards. So let's say most people who look fit and who are representing fitness, I don't think that they're, for the most part, maybe very like fertile, healthy individuals who are able to fulfill their purpose, optimal expression in life. There's usually a lot of imbalance there. So for me, I think fitness comes from health, and health means calm, regulated nervous system, breathing deeply, you're positive, you're kind, you listen, you can communicate, you have this sense of balance and ease and flow within yourself. And from there, yes, we can be strong, we can be athletic, we have the ability to turn it on. And like, we should, in survival, we should be able to run from a tiger or be able to protect our family. But if we can't chill out and sit around the fire and laugh and have a good time, I don't think we're really healthy. And I know it's a little bit abstract, but I'm someone who I've been professionally a fitness personal trainer for so long, and I've seen it all, right? From on both sides. And I really want to be someone who inspires people to establish foundational health, and from that place, choose what level of fitness makes sense and is in congruence with their lifestyle, their values, and their vision. I think too many people are outside in. They're seeing something and wanting to become something for something outside of themselves.
Right.
And
Right.
what I share is what I have learned to be an expression of optimal health and fitness, but I share it with each person. You don't need to be like have the same mindset as me. You don't need to achieve the goals I want to achieve. You don't need to achieve someone else's. It's really mirroring and like, what is it that you want out of your life and your body? And what level of fitness and athleticism makes sense for you? And
Mm,
I think that's what's most important. And that I keep bringing it back to like self awareness and living your life, living the life that is going to be in alignment with your purpose and the legacy you want to leave behind. And I think that our fitness regimen ought to have that level of integration. We shouldn't have like segmented lives, like it all be congruent.
right. What about empathy? How does empathy play a role in,
Well, as a practitioner or just in general?
yeah, just in general, let's say. So, like, if someone's going through some, let's say, trying to lose weight, what would empathy play a role in helping that person?
Yeah, and empathy, one of the simple ways to go or look at it is, being able to feel with someone and feel like, and maybe consider what it would be like to be in their shoes. I circle everything back to health, where it's like, we need more kindness, compassion, empathy, and being able to unite and see the human and look for our similarities as opposed to like constantly that survival, like, or it's like we're constantly fighting each other when we don't need to. I don't know how many people ever even get in fights in their lives or have to do anything. So it's like, why is there so much like dysregulation? So I think empathy is like connect, and life becomes so much better when we lean in. And then, but on the flip side, I also see a lot of empathy without boundaries as well. So especially from providers or in general, is there's an art, and it's taken a lot of work to where I care so much. I really want to help. I really want to have the best impact. But no, like if you don't want that for yourself, I'm not taking home your problems with me. Like all I'm responsible for is being the best person I can be, the best provider, try to help you out. But I'm not attached to outcomes in my own life, so I'm definitely not attached to outcomes with someone else. And I think that there is an art, and it takes a certain level of inner work to get to a place where you can have high levels of compassion and empathy and still allow people to have their experiences. And if people need to bottom out or they need to, go through something that is maybe their dark night of the soul, a lot of
Mm,
times we sometimes we have to let them. And that can be the highest form of love.
mm, tough love. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we gotta say that tough love. Be the mom or dad in the way, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Do you think I've asked you this before we recorded, but do you think more and more people are now searching for something deeper and more of a holistic approach to health?
I would say so. And maybe there's a part of it as we are elevating our consciousness, we're also witnessing more people that are in that state as well. I think that there's always the full spectrum, but it has been very pleasing because I would say when I started on this holistic journey, I felt like I was on an island. People would make fun of a lot of these things, and there's still some elements, right? Like I'm in the line of chiropractic, and there's a little bit more like space for it. But I remember each phase of my life, and even let's just say when it comes to spirituality and faith, there's a lot more elevated consciousness happening. There's still a lot of that old way of thinking that is very divided. But I would definitely say in my field of awareness and what I'm seeing out there with the rise of information is people are starting to question and go a little bit deeper. And that is how, like, it's like the pendulum. We go so scientific and so factual and objective, but at some point it's going to be out of balance, and then nature's going to swing back. So I think we're on that pendulum swinging back to reconnecting with nature.
Mm. Yeah, we definitely moving towards a new model of health and healing for sure. Yeah, there's so much out there, and it's so beautiful to see. But this brings me back when we were talking about earlier about really dipping your toes into your own healing, right? Because there's a lot of noise out there, and especially, there's a lot of people coming in saying love and light, love and light, love and light. But I really love what you said earlier. I want to a little bit elaborate on that because I think I need to have a little bit more of understanding is that we really truly need to go through the dark as well, right? Because we can't have all the good. We have to go through some sort of discomfort, pain for growth. So when you see someone who is in the love and light constantly, is there also some sort of blockages that they want to look at?
Well, when it comes to someone else, we can't, like, with authenticity truly know where they're at. I know that I'm someone who I'm very like positive in gratitude. It doesn't mean that I don't experience everything and acknowledge everything.
Hmm.
But I do that work, and I choose to show up that way and just choose to show up authentically. There is a lot of that bypassing, and so it's not always like fair to judge, but I will say that I even coached myself on this like last week because I was going through something internally as well. It's like, okay, so if I want to have the optimal expression of light, that means I have to go as dark as can be. And it just makes sense, right? So sometimes we have to detach from it and be like, okay, if I want the highest level of success or highest level of health, I'm going to have to experience the opposite. And I think most people get stuck, and to each their own. But let's say if you're wanting to grow and ascend, you're gonna have to go down too. Well, I don't know the exact quote, but basically it's like however high the tree grows, the roots go deeper. And I don't
Right.
think that there is a way to experience true higher vibrational states without experiencing their opposing element. You know, it's
Yeah.
we can only fool ourselves so much, and we all do it. So no one's perfect. We're not perfect. It's just that
What are you talking about? We're
ha-
all perfect.
yeah. Well, yes, we're all imperfectly perfect and beautiful in our own right. But yeah, I think it's what I've really learned. It's actually the last value there. I wrote that a while ago. There's like some values, core values, but authenticity. So I've been on this path the past couple of years of just that individuation. I've been doing a deep dive even into Carl Jung's work. I really like it, but it's all about the soul's process of individuation and to become who you really are. And
Hmm.
and that is the dark, the light, the shadow, all aspects. And it doesn't mean that we just, because sometimes people just like give up and go all in, but we can always be calibrated and authentic, right? Just being authentic doesn't mean like you're mean or you just like speak freely. No, it means just be genuinely who you are, but it doesn't, so I think that there's just deeper layers to all of this of psychology and consciousness and how we present ourselves. I think it's always best to take some time to reflect before we speak, before we jump or react. We should sit with it.
Yeah. And tune into the energies because
Mhm.
energy is also there, the vibration, right? Because sometimes you can feel, you meet someone for the first time or something, and then you feel that negativity in the way. And it's not like you don't have to like completely shut it off, but you're like, okay, notice that vibration, notice that energy is not sitting well.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's okay. Move away from it or just kind of leave it as is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also sit with it to see like what part are we projecting something? Is there something in that energy that is provoking a response because of an unhealed element to ourselves? So that
Right.
it's like there's it's just a dance because there's so many layers to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of your non-negotiable or negotiables, let's say plural, in your daily life that keeps you rooted or grounded?
You mean like a part of my wellness routine? Okay, I would
Yes.
say for many years now, like I will play or like gratitude affirmations are usually like the first thing that I start my day with. I already like say stuff, but I instantly like I'll listen to affirmations. I do some form of breath work and I do some form of meditation and prayer. Those honestly are pretty much like staples. And I do movement. I like to get up, like walk, all of those elements. I've shared with some of my clients, like I have this way that I've been tracking my wellness activities for 3 or 4 years, and it's much different than before, like where you're tracking sets, reps, and workouts. But for me, it's always like balance. I even use emojis, but yeah, it's always like prayer, gratitude, affirmations, some form of meditation, and then elements of movement and fascia. So I like each day, and maybe I don't get it every day, I'm targeting all my major physiological systems and integrating that with my soul as well. And then that way I always am regulating. And I can see like if I'm putting a lot of energy out, then maybe I do some deep stretching. But I would definitely say those practices and physical. I fast a few times a week. So for me, I also organize from daily to weekly and monthly to make sure that in the course of a month or a week or a day, it's balanced. But this is something I'm a very organized individual. It's something I'm very passionate about. It's how I keep myself regulated, but I also make it like a game for myself. So obviously for everyone else it could be different, but that's my level of awareness to keep myself holistically whole, but also cultivating that inner athlete as well, because that's something that I constantly want to perform at my best. That's just how I'm wired.
So I know we're just humans and things happen. So what happened when one of these basically fall off the wagon? What do you do?
It rarely does, but I have had some days. Then I give myself grace, and I'm like, Hamad, I speak to myself as if I was my own client. I'm like, Hamad, like it's okay. It's life. You still got to flow with it. How do you bounce back? Because a lot of times we're all gonna fall, and falling is a necessary part for everybody. But it's about how you get back up. I have that inner dialogue, and then yeah, I literally just like coach myself. It's like give myself grace and understand that everything does happen for a reason, and it's okay, like get back on. And I think the inner dialogue for myself has matured so much because we're all usually our harshest critic, and I can be, and the people who know me really well, I can be pretty like sharp and have high standards and all that. I've worked a lot on my grace and my compassion, but there is a shadow element in my personality where it's just like it's very direct, clean, and cut, and that's kind of how I can be with myself. But I've worked on that as part of just the letting go.
Yeah, the letting go. And I feel that once we learn how to let go, it makes your body so much lighter, your thoughts so much lighter, like everything around it becomes, again, like a total dance, everything kind of aligns with you. Uh, I love it too. My morning routine too is very simple, very, first thing get up, get out outside, even here in Canada in the cold weather, go outside, get some light in the eyes, and that's just basically first thing. I love what you said earlier too, it's the cycle of the day, waking up early in the morning with the sun and then going to bed at the proper time. But it's same thing, gratitudes. I have little notes, sticky notes all over the house, from the fridge to the bathroom, and even just for my own family, having these subconsciously when they're washing, brushing their teeth, they're looking at it, they're like, oh, they're reading it without even knowing that they're reading it. Um, it's just so important. Journaling too. I love journaling, having just little thoughts of either positive, negative, just putting it out there, and see what it brings up for me. So it's just so important too. I actually was really bad. I didn't do any exercise because winter usually is a hibernation for us here. It was so cold this year. I was like not going skiing at all. No cross country, nothing. But I'm so proud of myself. Just got back into CrossFit. So I was supposed to go this morning, but I am in so much pain that I'm like, I need a break. So just slowly getting into it. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy that you said, though, like looking at the sun, and there's so many great
Mhm.
activities, and that is a beautiful way to begin the day. And then I'm also proud of you for listening to your body because, I'm someone who's overtrained. A lot of my health issues are I did to myself through, lack of awareness, lack of recovery, lack of all the things that we're discussing now. I learned the hard way, and I'm still learning of honoring this system, because growth happens when we recover and rest. So, like, let's say if you did a CrossFit workout and it's great, you got the momentum, your body's sore, it's inflamed, it needs rest and nourishment and hydration,
Mhm.
and then you go back in, and that's what I've done, right? And a lot of people, it's just finding the balance. So I'm proud of you that you listening to your body. And sometimes there's a fine line. Sometimes we can listen too much and then stay passive,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
an
Well,
art
I
thing.
know myself too. I can push myself really, really
Yeah,
hard, and I'm a very competitive
yeah,
person. So when I go to the gym, I usually compete with the 20-year-olds, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not 20 anymore. I'm much older than them. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But I have also injured myself last year, and I was really having a hard time because I had a shoulder injury. So that's why I took a year off, because I'm like, I really needed to heal, and I didn't want to cause more injuries to the shoulder and then not be able to come back and train again. So I was like, yes, I was not training every day, but I still did my walking. I did yoga. I stretched. So yes, it was not intense, but it was still something.
yeah.
So
You
that
needed
was
me.
that was thing for me.
If only you were
Yes, I
closer,
know.
because
Where are
I'm
you?
all about helping people refine, right? It's not about like reinventing. So even people who are very in tune with themselves, I always like to empower, but that is like my whole skill set, is being a human engineer and like Inspector Gadget, and figuring out where we can refine to make the system run more efficiently to get better results. I love that. So maybe
Right,
one day, yeah, I'll be able to help you
right.
out, because I love bringing out
Thank
the
you.
inner athlete of everyone, right? So it's not just about,
Yeah.
I think a big part of my niche and my brand and what I am working on is not just being out of pain, not just living like a normal, mediocre life. For me, it's how do we have an optimal expression of health? Because we're only in this body one lifetime. We're never getting any younger. So it's about like optimal expression. You don't need to be a pro basketball player, but like, or is your body limiting your experience? And if it is, then we want to move towards that freedom of movement, to where your body is, it's a gift, and that you can,
Well, it's your temple. You have to take care
yeah,
of it,
exactly.
right? So if you don't, then, that's why we see so many
Yeah.
injuries with elderly people, falling, breaking their hips or something like that, and then kind of things progress and gets worse. So I think really taking care of your body as a whole is definitely very, very important. So for anyone who's listening and who are really feeling stuck in, let's say, like a constant or reoccurring pain or patterns that constantly going through, where should they begin? What would be their
What
start?
we touched on, it was breath, maybe a break, some
Mhm.
quiet time to reflect and sit with oneself. From a practical way, yes, move the body, maybe go for a walk in nature. Okay, breathing, core function, walking in nature, like that is the most human practice you can do. And then I would say, based on the individual, I would say it's wise to have a coach or have someone, a practitioner. Even myself, I think I'm quite knowledgeable and all that. I definitely want to still receive help. We all have blind spots, and we really can't get to that next stage always on our own. Sure, yes, we can. We can be sovereign. I'm a very like sovereign individual, but I think it's wisest to invest in a practitioner that aligns, that has some elements or aspects that you can learn from, and work with them, hire them, find a mentor, because that's going to make everything so much more worthwhile, and you want to be a student of the experience. And I think that that's really valuable. So you have some guidance, and also your mentors can change. You can learn from different people. It doesn't have to be one element. Like I was even just thinking, you and I, right? Like we both will have a lot of wisdom to share, but someone may resonate just with your energy and your experience. And same with me. And I think that that's beautiful. And I think that something you and I both share is something I have a vision of is global practitioners where we're working together as opposed to, no, listen to me because I'm better. No, it's like, this is what I can offer you, but I actually encourage people to learn from others. I like from a practitioner standpoint, being on a team. We pass the ball, we all help each other. And I think that that's really valuable to seek out a practitioner, but then also to sit with the energy of it as well. And, because there are a lot of, I would say, misguidance out there. So staying connected with yourself, but also learning from others.
I love that. I definitely love that. It's so important. I was speaking to someone at one of my open tables discussion, and he had a really good point. He says, we really like to spend money on gadgets. Actually, he used the word shit. I'm going to say it here. But yet he said that people tend to avoid investing in themselves. And I think what you said, and like he said, it's so important to really, like, if you want to excel in your life and you want to take the next step, whatever it is, in health, in, mental capacity, whatever it is so important to look for someone who can have that and give you that hand, helping hand and guide you through some process. And I love what you just said too. It doesn't have to be that one particular person for a very long time. It's like we learning through different people. Someone comes to our life, they teach us something, then they leave. Then someone else comes into our life, we learn something new. And once we keep that door open, beautiful things happen in life. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you too.
This has been such a powerful and meaningful conversation, but I really enjoy this. We can probably sit here and talk for another hour. So before we close, I always love to ask my guests a final question. And the question is, what is one idea you like to leave the listeners with that could make a meaningful impact in another person's life?
We're enough. We have everything that we need. And the areas that we're looking to improve, we can get there just one step at a time. There's no lack. You're not missing anything. You don't have to grasp. We don't need what someone else has. We don't need extra resources. Sometimes we have what we need. And to just focus on the breath, no matter even if we're going through a tunnel of chaos and grief and every emotion, if we can just cling on to some element of gratitude and realize how blessed we are to be alive. So just a little bit of breath and gratitude can take us on the journey of living our best life. I mean, I'm happy and content right now, but I have been in such dark places in my life too. So a lot of times people they see and like now oh, I'm living my purpose, this and that, but trust me, like I have been in some dark places as well. So if we can just find the semblance to return and be present and lean into that hope, that faith, and remember how blessed we are to just be alive. And if we can cling on to just a little bit of gratitude, we'll be just fine.
Mm. Hamad, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and knowledge with us and just thoughts in general. I really, really, truly appreciate that. How can listeners reach you?
I think from the digital world, Instagram is where I am most active, and that can lead you to my website. I do have a newsletter. Through my newsletter and my social media, that's where I share events, classes, upcoming retreats, and workshops. And I manage that, so anyone can always send me a message if you'd like to get in touch. If I can even share a message or a little bit of time to help you feel supported and get on the right track, I will. And then I also work with people virtually. I am just here as a vessel to help. So just reach out to me and I will do my best to make myself available.
Thank you so much for this today. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, the gratitude is mutual. Thank you. Thank you for, inviting me. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like you done a great job of, just asking me great questions, letting me speak, and it's been very organic and authentic, and I just am in gratitude and appreciation to you.
Thank you.